Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your Trading Week wrap-up edition of the Trader Merlin Show. Happy Friday, everybody. Cheers to all of you. A whiskey Friday, to be sure. It was kind of for me anyway, kind of a mellow trading week. Only a few trades were made. All in all, ended up being a great week for me. I'll walk you through that as we go through it. But yeah, as Noam says, TGIF gang. Absolutely. Cheers, everybody. Good to see you back, Alex. I know you've been going through some ups and downs, so glad to have you back with us, and with hopefully some regularity out there. And cheers to all of you, my regulars out there. All right, a little sip of whiskey here before I jump into the title, which I was trying to figure out a graphic for today's show. It's tough doing this every single day. I struggle kind of picking out what we're looking at, and honestly, the only thing I can really think of is just this table here. I asked it to show me the Federal Reserve with Jerome Powell at the head of the table. Angels envy today, Big Eb. Angels envy today. I got to finish off this bottle. I need to make room in my cabinet. I got too much. I have too many bottles of whiskey that you guys have given me over the years. It's you're supporting alcoholism on my end, but I'm drinking slowly, chugging my way through it. So here we go with the graphic, which is all about the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of talk track about. We talked about it yesterday about what happens when Powell moves and Hassett comes in, if Hassett is the choice. Look, all that stuff, let's not worry about it for now. It's about what will Jerome Powell do on Wednesday. And of course, it's not just Jerome Powell, it's all the other voting members. But right now, given the data we've seen this week, seems like we have a pretty good probability. Right now, about 87% chance we'll get a rate cut. So I'm going to dive into the top 8. Then we'll go into some trades. I'll go into some questions here, and then I will wrap up our show for the weekend. Worst side of this was Bitcoin. It was interesting because the way it looked yesterday, is we gapped up outside of that supply zone and came back down into it, which is a classic, when they call it a bull trap, where you think it's breaking out and all of a sudden it comes right back in, which is why I like to wait for confirmation. And you've heard me say this many times. When you have a trade set up, it's critical to wait for things to do what you think they're going to do before you just jump on it blindly. And yesterday, we had that gap up on the Bitcoin futures, sold off, and looked fairly weak by the end of the day. Today, we came out of that demand zone, follow through, and down 3.68% for Bitcoin on the day. 89,425 is where we closed at for the futures. The spot price, which is really more important, is $89,056 as we speak. So not a good day for Bitcoin. Although, I guess anybody here in the room who is long Bitcoin, like myself, you look at this and say, well, at least it's stabilized a little bit, right? It's not plummeting. It was definitely a bad day, but it's still got to hold these lows here. Right? The big low that's important, at least the most critical one in my opinion, is the one that we established about 2 weeks ago, right down here at 80,750. I think that is a pretty significant level for us to be holding. And again, that's right around that $80,000 mark, which psychologically is a point where, I think we break that one, we're in deep doo-doo, and I could show you some price charts here. They'll probably drop us from 80,000 all the way down to 74 in very short order. So that was your worst performer on the day, but it gets a little bit better from there. Honestly, it wasn't that bad of a market. Some of these candles ended in precarious positions, and I'll explain the precariousness of those. Yesterday, I think Liz was talking about this being an inverse head and shoulders on the Russell. I'm going to remove that just because I think the lines kind of make our chart a little bit messy here. So let me get rid of all those lines. Actually, let's just do it the fast way and remove all my drawings. Gone. We have a naked chart of the Russell 2000. Woo! Steve says below 80,000, the wheels come off, in my opinion. I don't know if the wheels would come off. I mean, that sounds apocalyptic, but it certainly would start to pick up a lot of momentum, right? I think really it's this 74,000 is where you really start to see people go, uh-oh. But again, what happens when new lows are made? When new lows are made, typically you get a follow-through because there's this expectation that we're going to break that. When we break the low, we're going to seek out new lows. And as long as we map out where those lows are, we may be able to anticipate some turning points and bounces in Bitcoin here. But right now, not the best-looking picture. Even though it's bounced for the past couple of weeks, still looks weak overall, at least for the last couple of months here. So not looking so good. I'm not going to say the wheels come off yet, Steven. Not yet. Yeah, and again, this is where it's so difficult as a trader to play it, right? People ask me all the time about my trading style, and I say, well, what's yours? Oh, hold on a second. So The reason I was a little bit late today, first off, my hair is all disheveled as usual. I should just shave my head, call it a day. For some reason, my camera completely disconnected from my streaming system today, so I was scrambling to get it fixed. And you can see if I was to do this cut here, there's no camera. My picture's gone, so I need to do a little bit of fixing here over the weekend to get my show back in order. But I get asked all the time about my trading style, and as most of you know, I trade all styles, but I would say that predominantly, I am more of a swing trader where I'm looking for trades that last a few days to maybe a few weeks. So I think a few weeks is kind of stretching it for me just based off the market, the volatility, and uncertainty. So if you're looking at that one and you're looking at a swing trading perspective, right now does look like you should be bullish on Bitcoin because really since this November 21st low, it's been making higher lows slowly and slightly higher highs. So all in all, we could argue there is a very short-term uptrend going on. But when you zoom out and you're more of a position trader, you've got a much bigger downtrend going on that goes on from October. So, markets are fractal in nature. And the big question is, which piece of that fractal are you trading, right? If you're looking at this picture here from the October highs, your thought track should be, this is simply a pullback into supply, and the next leg, the bigger leg, is going to be down, just because that's what the picture is. Anders says, is this a dead cat bounce? You could classify it as one. I personally like to see a dead cat bounce have a sharper, faster move up, kind of like we saw with the S&P here, right? We talked about this really big move down here and expect there to be a dead cat bounce, and we did get a dead cat bounce. Actually, we just got a whole reversal of the market to the upside. I thought that would be a dead cat bounce that lasted a couple days. Usually a dead cat bounce is a kind of a sharp, quick move that fails. If you look at Bitcoin, well, it's not failing. It's just kind of grinding slightly higher. So I don't know if I would necessarily call this Bitcoin price chart a dead cat bounce. More so just a retracement during that period. Remember, when you look at impulse versus corrective phases, impulse and corrective phases are generally, the impulse is a strong, powerful move, and the corrective phase is more of a slower, controlled move. And on Bitcoin's price chart right now, if we look at this last move from November 10th down to the lows of November 21st, you had a very aggressive, powerful move, and that was the direction of the prevailing trend, therefore impulse. Now we have a corrective phase here. Then the question is, and I don't know the future, I wish I did, it would be a totally different ballgame if I did, but you have this red candle, last 2 days have been red candles for Bitcoin, today was kind of a stretched out one. Really, it's going to be about over the weekend, what happens. If that panic and fear does settle back in or come back in, then we'll see it challenge these lows of this yellow box between 82,765 and 85,272. If we get below that, you're going to get another impulse move down. You'll get a big, powerful move down, which I hope doesn't happen, but if it does, it does. I'm not too worried about it. But that would be confirming the overall trend. In my opinion, as soon as we get down below this lower yellow box, you'll get another big leg down, and that will just confirm the current trend that we are in there for Bitcoin. All right, what do I got here? Yes, I did add to my Bitcoin position, so I hope it holds the lows. Remember, hope is a foul, vile, disgusting four-letter word there, Stephen. We don't want to use hope here. Hope implies you're just like, I'm leaving it to the gods, right? Nope. We're not hoping. We are anticipating. How about we use that term? It's more optimistic, Stephen. I like you to change your wording here, too. I did add to my Bitcoin position. I am anticipating that it holds the lows. How about that? You pray. There you go. Whatever works for you, my friend. Okay. Dead cat bounce usually challenge a controlling swing high. Yes. It'll bounce back up into a supply zone, typically. Mike says, is there a bullish bearish consensus or greed index on Bitcoin? If there is, that would be useful in trying to determine a Bitcoin bottom. Yeah, there is a, let me just bring it up here. Bitcoin fear gauge. Oh, sorry, I'm typing so bad right now. This is just absolutely terrible. But there's a CoinMarketCap fear gauge, and here it is now. Right now you're at 25. So it's broken into 5 kind of major segments, which is extreme fear, fear, neutral, greed, and extreme greed. Well, we are kind of at the lower end of fear. So that would support more selling going on here. And if it dipped down into extreme fear, that's kind of when you say, all right, maybe it's overdone, right? Maybe it's just been a little bit too far to the south side here. And there we go. Okay, what else we have? Us holders are not worried. Exactly, Big Ab. Not worried. Not worried at all. See, I'm a holder, Big Ab, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings if you see, yeah. I would like it to be the bottom too, Stephen, but, you know, part of my long, again, what does it boil down to? Strategy and what's your plan, right? Some of you might be dependent on that capital that you have invested in your Bitcoin, and you may need to use stop losses. For the crypto that I have, all my crypto, except for the ETFs like IBIT that I've been trading and doing the wheel strategy on, everything that I have in spot crypto, I'm not concerned about it. I don't have stop losses on it. It is about the long-term prospects. So that is the strategy that's there for me. I'm an HODL. I'm a hodler, as Big Ed put. So I'm not worried about that at all. If I had this in, let's say, my Schwab or E-Trade or Ameritrade account, whatever, if I had this money in there, then I would be more inclined to have stop losses on it because that is my working capital that I'm going to be actively trading on. So from that perspective, like my IBIT, I got stopped out a couple weeks ago when Bitcoin had this real big fall in IBIT. I was doing the wheel strategy in another account, which I don't share with you guys. And that account took a pretty big hit on that sell-off. But I'm back in it again, and I'll continue to do that wheel strategy. But I had to have circuit breakers where I say enough is enough. Get out and prevent yourself from taking bigger losses. Let's see. John says, I just learned a couple of days ago what HODL stands for. Hold on for your dear life. Yeah, that's one of the beliefs. The reality was the guy who coined that phrase he was apparently hammered. Like he was absolutely like just drunk when he made the comment. And he meant to say, I'm going to hold, H-O-L-D, but he typed it backwards, and now it's just become this thing of lore of H-O-D-L, stands for hold on for dear life, which I love it. I think it's got a great ring to it. I think it's very amusing. And yeah, sure, I'm a hodler as well. But yeah, he was, apparently the backstory is the guy, and I don't know what his name is, that initially started that hodl thing. He was in some community bulletin board room, and he typed in H-O-D-L instead of H-O-L-D, like, I'm going to hold, but he... drunk typed. It will happen. Let's see. Chio, what's your opinion about having money in USD in Coinbase? Okay. Great question. Don't do it. Because you don't make any money by having money in Coinbase. Having USD in Coinbase. Let me show you here. Let's go to Coinbase. Show you my account. And again, I normally don't keep anything there. However, I do keep some emergency funds there now. For example, your question specifically, Chio, was, what is your opinion about having money in USD in Coinbase? Don't do it. There's no benefit of you having USD. And I don't know why this is taking so long. This should be very quick to update my page. But you can see right here, USD, it doesn't pay you anything. There's no incentive for you to have USD. I have $4.56 there, and I'm making nothing. However, look up above it. I have USDC, which is a stable coin, and I'm earning 3.85%. Okay? 3.85%. So this, I'm earning a way better yield than I would in USD. So if you're going to put dollars, physical U.S. American greenbacks, this stuff, right? You're gonna move this over to Coinbase and have some capital ready to deploy and make some trades with. Send it over as USDC, and therefore you will start earning extra capital. I mean, and I can show you how to do that. Let's see here. Let me real quickly look at something because I don't want to show you any account numbers. Let me make sure this is all clean and refreshed. Okay. So to give you an example, Chio, and I'll show you how to do this right now. If we go here, and I'm at Coinbase, let's say I want to take $1,000 out of my checking account and deposit it here, right? I have my choice. If you click USD, there's deposit, and then it's going to say, where do you want to deposit it from, right? So I've got it. I could pay with my checking. Notice it automatically wants to add it to USDC. So you could change this to US dollars, but why? You're going to earn yield. So let's say I want to move over $1,000. You can see it's coming out of my checking account. It's going into my USDC. I'll click. I can do $100,000 at a time, which is nice. We'll click deposit for a preview, and right away the funds will arrive instantly. I click deposit now, and probably by the time I refresh this, you'll see my account balance jumps up to, well, should be 10,000 something on the USDC here. Usually it's very quick. And there you go. So I just moved over $1,000. That $1,000 is now going to earn 3.85% per year, which is better than almost any bank in the United States. Even Ally Financial, which was pretty good, is only, I think, 3.7. And this is super liquid. Now, is this insured? No, it is not. It is not insured. This is a stable coin. However, I'm in the camp, and I can't guarantee anything. So if something happens, I am not on the hook here. The only threat here is that Coinbase goes bankrupt. So if Coinbase goes bankrupt, or you feel that you are questioning the safety, validity, the integrity of Coinbase, then do not move anything to Coinbase, right? That should go without saying. I'm not so worried about it. I think they're too entrenched in the financial system. They got too many friends on Capitol Hill and too many outside big investors. I don't think they'll go bankrupt. So I'm not that concerned. But then again, I'm not keeping, $100,000 or $300,000 here. I've got 11,000. Big deal. So this is kind of my emergency funds. And not emergency funds, but, just keeping an extra 10 grand there, earning some yield on it. And Big Eb says, and he's right, if Coinbase goes bankrupt, the doo-doo will hit the fan. Yeah, it will. Coinbase ain't going bankrupt. Again, I've mentioned this before in some of my crypto sessions, and you guys know it. In my opinion, if Coinbase goes bankrupt, it's probably going to be because of fractional reserve lending, a run on Coinbase. So if you see Bitcoin go into a free fall, actually, let's make this as a very cautionary note. Let's say, for example, we open up Monday morning, okay, and here's your Bitcoin price chart. I absolutely don't expect this to happen. But let's say, hypothetically, you come in Monday morning and Bitcoin has just fallen like an absolute rock and it's now down to 60 grand. If that happens, your first step should be not worrying about your crypto. Go to your Coinbase account. And I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would go to my Coinbase account and I would withdraw all my USDC. I'd withdraw all my stablecoins. I'd get everything out of there. Because in my opinion, if Bitcoin has a monster sell-off, an absolute crater type event because of a whale selling, Michael Saylor being squeezed and having to sell some of his position to cover debts, whatever that might be, I think that could cause a cascade on the system. When that happens, there will come a point where Coinbase would freeze everybody and say you can't move anything. So just from a safety perspective, and I'll let you know if I do it, knock on wood, let's hope it's not going to happen. But if it does happen, first thing you should do is get your USDC out of it, get all your cash, right? You can try to move your crypto off the exchange too, but remember, if Coinbase goes bankrupt, all of these little bits that I have here, all of this little stuff is going to be the property of Coinbase. And Andre says, but aren't they not backed by U.S. assets? Correct. The stablecoins are backed by three things. Remember, we talked about this with the Genius Act. These stablecoins are backed by U.S. dollars, short-term treasuries under 93-day maturities, and money sitting at the Federal Reserve for repo market. Now, if they go bankrupt, it doesn't matter if USDC is backed. Those assets become part of Coinbase's estate. That's the problem. Yes, stablecoins are backed, meaning there's assets behind them. But if Coinbase is so bad at managing their money, and they've done something so dramatic with this lending out of Bitcoin, then theoretically, they might need to take that USDC to pay off debt obligations to bondholders who go first before shareholders. So that's the scary part. And again, I'm really addressing what would be considered an apocalyptic event for crypto, right? I don't see it happening. And of course, if it does happen, I'll be doing a show on it. You guys know I'm doing these every day. So, yeah. Let's see. Drew says, some big money involved in Coinbase. Came in earlier this year. Charts look very solid. I agree with you, Drew. I agree with you. Yep. And that's an exciting one. I'm going to do probably a special show on that. Coinbase is doing a huge system upgrade on the 17th. They're making some major announcements. My guess is they're going to do a boatload of new products and services, a huge amount of tokenization. I think that's going to be their big push with this upgrade on December 17th. Andre says the FDIC should provide support. If you follow me in the crypto program, this has been an area of discussion because, in my opinion, if a stablecoin is required to hold U.S. dollars and government bonds and participate with the repo market, that should be just as good as cash. So I'm optimistic that within a couple of years, I think stablecoins, as long as they meet the regulatory requirements, will probably get FDIC protection. That's my expectation. Andy, that's great. if that happens, Eric will run to his dad to tweet something. That's pretty funny. That's good. It has happened and is a very big drag. Yeah, Janet, you're talking about what happened with Terra Luna, right? That was an FTX. That was a black swan event. And, one of the great things about human memory is we remember those events, and we typically set up infrastructure or precautionary things so that those events don't happen again. Again, we went squirrel mode on you guys, but hopefully that helped you, Chio. I saw you say something about, is it better to have money in a high yield savings account? Arguable. Let's go high savings. Sorry, I'm typing and talking. So high yield savings, best ones right now. Let's see, the best ones you can get right now for a high yield savings account. 3.9% annual percentage yield at Western Alliance Bank. Never heard of them. American Express is going to give you 3.4%. I've heard of them. E-Trade, 3.75 annual percentage yield for a limited time. Some of these will require you to lock your money up for a certain window of time. But Barclays, here's 3.85%. Sure. Yeah, you could certainly go and open an account here. These would be FDIC insured. You can see it says here, member FDIC, so that's great. But for me, it's just easier here to go with Coinbase. I'm not so concerned that they're going to go bankrupt. I echo some of the sentiment of the viewers here that they're probably going to be fine. Yeah, Janet, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, all three of those went bankrupt because of bad business practices. The big difference here, huge difference here is Celsius, Voyager, and BlockFi, rest in peace, and I hope that the CEOs of those companies burn in hell. They stole so much money from people, it's ridiculous. But those were shady operations that had no oversight, no regulatory, anything. Coinbase is publicly traded, meaning all their financials are scrutinized. They have to jump through all kinds of hoops for the SEC to make sure they're legitimate. So the integrity of Coinbase, in my opinion, is much, much higher than those entities that Janet mentioned with Voyager. Yeah, that was... you're making me drink, Janet. That was a bad time. And we learned from it, right? It's definitely, the system is better now, but I also don't trust these smaller players. Someone asked earlier for parties and drugs. Maybe Big Ollie. There you go. Well, cheers to you, Janet, and everybody else. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great weekend and do something fun. I am going to do something fun this weekend. Kraken was another question. Let me bring this one up. I haven't logged in my Kraken account in a long time. Being in California, they didn't allow you to stake using Kraken, which was an interesting thing. You could do it in many other states. There were like 13 states where you could not use Kraken. I was like, well, this sucks. Kraken had decent staking. But let me real quickly put in my two-factor authentication here, and I'll show you guys. It's always better to show with real example than just talk theoretically, right? So here's Kraken. And you can see over here they've got this Earn tab. So if you click on Earn, it'll give you a whole list of assets that you can earn yield on. Now let me see if I have some here that's earning yield. Let me see if I can find USDC on here. So they are not paying you for USDC. They're paying you for USDG, which is interesting. That's another stable coin. But I don't see USDC on here. Remember, part of the reason that they're going to be paying you with on USDC at Coinbase is Coinbase is part of the creator of USDC. So I don't know the details of USDG. There's so many different stablecoins. I can't remember which one's which. But no, you will not earn anything else on USDC. But you notice here on USDG, you can auto earn 2%. So you're better off going with Coinbase, getting yourself that 3.85%. I don't keep a lot there. I'm not going to put like $100,000 or $200,000 there. I'd rather take that capital and trade it and make a better rate of return. But as a little safe spot for a few grand, I don't think it's that dangerous. I think you're probably okay. What about Enron? Well, Les, you always got to go and do the what ifs, right? There's always some exception. Enron and WorldCom, every now and again you get somebody who has figured out how to manipulate the rules and get around the regulations and the scrutiny from regulators like the SEC or FINRA. Unfortunately, Enron and WorldCom will go down as two of the biggest examples of fraud and manipulation ever. But those are one-offs. Could Coinbase fall into that category? Sure. But I think Coinbase, what was Enron? Enron was an energy trader, right? What do you think has more potential for the future? A energy trading company or an exchange that is on the ground floor of an upgrade of the entire financial system? I think that the legitimacy of Coinbase here is much better because they want to do things right, because the future is so bright in this area. They are all going to turn into multi-billionaires off this process. How can you get an invite to Coinbase's seminar? You can just, let's see, I think you can actually go here. It's in the news. Where was it? They had an announcement, right? You had an announcement. WorldCom was my introduction to a big loss of money in stock. That was a brutal one. Bernie Ebbers, right? Wasn't that the CEO's name? Bernie Ebbers. How can you get involved? If you want, you go to X. Let me bring it up here real quick. Let me go to X and just type in Coinbase. Yeah, unfortunately, Drew, it won't let you put the link in a chat. It doesn't let you guys put links in the chat. But let me bring up X real quick, and then you go to Coinbase, and you'll see a whole bunch of links for it. I got ad block on. Let's go to Coinbase here. So I'll just do a Coinbase. You can see it there. And you scroll down, there it is right there. So there's the system update logo thing. It's a December 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So I guess I'm going to lose all of my viewers to that. Oh, man. Dab nabbit. So let me click on this. You can set a reminder. There's the thread to it. I forget. There it is. Set a reminder. X events. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this over and I'll paste it in the chat for you guys. Hopefully this will come through because I know that most of you guys, you can't send links. But there you go. That's the link to the page where you see the system update. You can set a reminder and it'll automatically pop up for you. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It says a new era is beginning. My guess is you're going to see a lot of information here about tokenization, about shares, similar to what Robinhood's been doing. I think Coinbase now is going to be really going toe-to-toe with Robinhood to get this going. Alex says, do you think we are going to get into the prediction market with that update? Yep, I do. The big question, Alex, and it's for those that don't know prediction markets, basically prediction markets are exploding, and it's just gambling. It's really all it is. And you can bet on anything. Prediction would be forecasting the winner of an election or the winner of a football game or you name it. Is the weather in Irvine, California going to be 65 degrees tomorrow? These prediction markets are exploding. What's the probability? Is the Fed going to raise or lower rates on Wednesday? There's a prediction market for that right now. And I think depending on, Ollie says they do that. Do they do it domestically or is it DeFi? Because I think U.S. regulators are still going to crack down on predictive markets, that type of wagering binary bets. Polymarket, yeah, in my opinion, Stephen, it's gambling. It's just speculating on an event. In my opinion, regulators are probably going to still crack down on that for now. So I don't think that this announcement will be about that. I do think that it will be down the road that they're going to, look like Polymarkets and this kind of betting thing. Was on 60 Minutes. Oh, really? I have to check that out, Ken. Thank you. I don't usually watch TV, but I'm going to check that one out just because Polymarket is blowing up right now, and these predictive market betting things are absolutely exploding. And I think that it's fine. I think it's an opportunity for us to, find things that interest you or you're connected to, and you may have expertise in, and the probability is on your side. Go for it. But I don't think that Coinbase will make that announcement yet. I don't think that they'll get regulatory approval. No way, Andres. It would not surprise me to see that, actually. All right. Was on after the football game. Cool. I'll check it out. Let me, it's funny because we were supposed to do the top 10. I didn't even make it past Bitcoin. That's where we go with the show, folks. The beauty of having something that is absolutely not scripted. Someone asked me, do you script this show? Do you really think I could script this show? It would never work. It's way better when it's just kind of off the cuff and just go. Let me move up our ladder here because we just started with Bitcoin. Let me get to these top 8 because I want to get to this question. Yeah, Ollie, I can definitely bet on my 40. I'll bet on them this week. I know they win this week. I guarantee the Niners win this week. They're on a bye week. Here's your Russell 2000. You got a bearish Harami formation happen on the Russell today, down 0.44%. You get a small little candle after a really big run up right near overhead supply. Man, I'll tell you, there's been so many little clues of a pullback, but they haven't followed through, right? We've had all kinds of little signs, especially I love this one here on Tuesday for the market. It looked like we were going to rip lower, and I had a rule all written out for you, and we never broke it, never got confirmation, kept on rallying. So all in all, Russell's looking fantastic. Gold, who cares? Gold's traversing sideways, almost 3 identical candles in a row. Long topping tail today. So as the future sessions open on Sunday night, it might be interesting to keep an eye on this one. I still think that 42.18 level could be a pretty good entry point from a short perspective, but it just feels like it's consolidating and actually showing a bit of strength since late October. So I, for one, would be more on the bullish side here overall with gold, although today's candle does look weak. All right, dollar index. Nothing to speak of here. We had a bullish Harami formation yesterday, coming right back down towards demand, and today a really kind of condensed, small little real body. Nothing really to say here. I would have expected this to have a much bigger move to the upside. It did not. Almost podium time. S&P just barely missed it, up 0.17%. S&P's got a shooting star. Why do they always have them on Fridays? I'm going to put a line below it. 6,856. What's noteworthy here is not only did we enter supply, we actually went outside the upper supply zone, which I had mapped out at 6,900. Today's intraday high was 6,905. So nice little peak out above that overhead supply, but came almost all the way back down, closing in the lower third of its range. So pretty good bearish candle here. Again, it doesn't mean it's going to tank. Ollie, I know he's going to be like, Merlin, doom and gloom. But if we do get an open up tomorrow on Sunday night and it starts to break down below 68.56, then I would be more from the short perspective, and I will be looking for a little bit of a pullback. I think we've had a pretty nice run since late November. A little bit of a pullback would be good. Although, we're going into a week where people are expecting Jerome Powell to cut 25 basis points. So, all right, bronze medal winner, NASDAQ. Same picture as the S&P 500. This is where the old adage, if you torture a chart long enough, it'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I had the supply zone drawn and noticed that we would knife through it. Well, you could modify it and pick up this tail here, and we're still in the zone. So shooting star for the NASDAQ 100 as well, which is going to be just below today's low. I will give you that line right there, 25,579. I'm with you as well, Stephen. I think that the rate cut's baked in. The phrase I always hate to use is the foregone conclusion, but it does feel that way, and we can look at the stats here in just a second. All right, silver metal. Crude oil, 0.69% move to the upside. From a technical perspective, who cares, right? Les, get your iron condor ready. You're pretty much dead center of the range. Actually, we might literally be the exact middle of this range. Let me pull fibs from the low to this high point here. And $59.42 would be dead center, and we're at $59.97. So very close to dead center of the range there. Get that iron condor ready to rock and roll. And finally, 10-year yield. Man, just when it looks like the yields are going to drop and continue to move lower, it just had a really good week. Overall, a great week from yield increases, which is not good for the equity markets. We had a big day today. It increased almost 1%, 4.139%. For the yield today. Again, we're still kind of range bound on this one as well. We're not making new highs. We're not making new lows. So sort of consolidating here. Bill Addis is in the camp of higher yields. He sees that happening. I'm actually in the camp of lower yields, but who the heck knows what the heck's going on here with those yields. Let's see what do you got. Second week of December is usually a pullback, and then big up mid-December according to Stock Traders Almanac. All right, love that. I haven't read the latest stats on Stock Traders Almanac. I should get the new version. And I should also try to get Jeffrey Hirsch back on the show. He's always such a good guy. It's funny, you talk about I will say physical transformation from my workout perspective and diet and nutrition. Jeffrey Hirsch has done a phenomenal job as well. He has been working out. Last time I saw him in Orlando at the Money Show, looked like a different guy. He shed so much weight, just in great shape. So we'll maybe can commiserate on our, I don't really call it commiserate, but we can, what is it? Commiserate's when you both wallow in your own misery. What is it when you both, wallow in your celebration? Not wallow, but enjoy your celebration or your triumphs. I don't know what you would call that. Not commiserating. Federal cut, but give a hawkish speed. Yeah. Let's go and look at that information right now. Let's go back. Let's get cracking out of here. Let me throw up my CME futures. All right, Phil. I'll do celebrate. We'll both celebrate our successes there. All right, let me bring up the CME Fed Funds futures, which I believe is right about 87% right now. For some reason, my internet I'm connected to a great internet connection, but that is just taking forever to load. Here is 87.2%. Again, baked in. I think that it would take an extreme event the first part of the week to get that to change. I just don't see it happening. So we'll get that cooked in. And as you guys know, it's really all about the statements after. It's what does Jerome Powell say at the press conference that is going to change the market's perception of where we're going forward. So my guess is they will probably tone it down a little bit. I agree with Andres. I think that the narrative will be a little bit more. We've done 3 rate cuts at the tail end of this year, so we're going to maybe just see data dependent how things go. But our latest core PCE price index, which came out today, we can bring that number up for you guys as well. Here's the core PCE numbers that came out today. Looks great, right in line with expectations. So you've got your 0.2 expectations, previous number was 0.2, and here we are at 0.2. So this is another piece where the Fed's going to say, look, inflation seems to be under control, but we want to see more data. We'll be data dependent, but there you go. All in all, good. Heard there was another intense solar flare, maybe slowing things down a bit. I don't know about that. Will he speak on quantitative easing? I don't think he's going to talk about quantitative easing. Quantitative tightening might be a better alternative for him, but he's going to speak about one of those two, whether they're buying more bonds or they're going to be selling more bonds or just staying pat where they're at. That will give us some clarity. And on Wednesday, I will also have Bill Addis on the program. So I'm looking forward to having him on to give his insights into what was being said. All right, so that's your top 8 markets. All in all, a decent week. Indexes are all pretty much up. Let me go into the first question here. Ethan asked me, he says, when you discuss your trades, could you please walk us through how you pick your strikes, what you're looking at, and how you place the trade? No, I can't give away the farm on this program, right? And it's about getting education. I work for a company that does education. So, Ethan, if you want to get into all the exact specifics of how that stuff goes, go to Trading Academy, sign up for a class. I'm almost giving away too much as it is, to be honest. But speaking of, let's go look at the trades today. I had the 141s. Those expired worthless for MicroStrategy. So let me bring that one up here. Here's MSTR. You guys know I had that 141 put, which I didn't have any real worry about that one being hit. I sold some more today. Let me readjust this number. So I collected a bunch of premium and was enjoying that trade, but for some reason this is not letting me click it. I sold the 160s today, which I wasn't super excited about, but it's right near the lows of this consolidation range, so I'm okay with that. But I sold the 160s. I collected $1.75, which means I'll get about a 1.1% rate of return for 7 days. And, yep, I am playing with fire ants. You know it. I am definitely, playing with fire with MicroStrategy. However, I'm definitely doing it with smaller positions. These are 10 lots, and normally I'll do 20 or 30, but these are kind of smaller positions for me, so I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, definitely playing with fire here. I think that Bitcoin, per our conversation, I think Bitcoin's slowly trying to traverse its way to the upside here, and I think that is part of the reason why I'm comfortable selling the 160s. Obviously, if I got exercise at 160, my average price would be 158.25, which would be near the bottom end of this tail here. So I'm okay with that one. Again, you got to be careful there. There are a lot of stocks out there you can get 1% on with less risk, in my opinion. Yeah, but also you can get 1%, but you got to go really close to current price. If you look at where my strike is at, MicroStrategies have to fall another 10% next week. And given the current trend of Bitcoin, I don't think that is going to happen. But I could be wrong. We'll see. Again, we'll manage that trade as we go. The other trade I have open is Amazon. Right now, I'm still long 1,500 shares of Amazon, which was up just a little bit today. I sold those 145 calls, and those expired worthless here today, so I'll keep that premium. And right near the end of the day, I was kind of debating reselling the 245s, but the premium was just not good. It just was not a lot of premium there. So I will wait until Monday and see what happens with Amazon. I'll probably sell some calls against this position next week, and I'll update you on what that position is. But all in all, I'm still content with Amazon, and I'm definitely a believer that this will continue a slow grind up just as we get to the end of the holiday season. I mean, Amazon is just, Amazon is like digital Santa Claus, right? It's just digital Santa, right, Drew? We love Amazon. Love it. Again, every time I get depressed, I just start buying stuff on Amazon. I try to make sure I stagger it out so I get a new package delivered every day. I'm like, oh, I got to do something delivered to me today. CRM, so even after their earnings, huh? Oh, yeah, I would have done the same thing. Sold some CRM covered calls. Good for you. I'm hoping you did somewhere up around like the 365, 370, maybe even higher than that. You've got 367 is kind of this peak from, 367 is this peak from October 21st, but what a heck of a rally here. So you've made some real nice profit on that one. Hopefully your shares don't get taken away from you, but add a little bit extra premium on it. There you go. Love it. What else do I have in here? Will it bounce? Will it bounce up in demand zone below? Well, that's kind of what I'm anticipating with Bitcoin, is that it is going to bounce, not bounce, but continue this trend to the upside and just slowly grind. So I'm okay with that one. Oh, good, Steve. Oh, you went way out of the money. Perfect. All right, so Ethan, I'm not going to be going through every detail about what I'm buying and all that stuff. I think, again, I'm already giving away too much information on this program for free, so take a class. Sorry, not to be a jerk, but first I try Amazon's. Andres is doing better. When I'm depressed or stressed, I buy Amazon stock. I love it. Chad said, did you interview another YouTuber who taught a protective put or call strategy? Can't remember. Corey Lane is someone I've interviewed many times. Obviously Larry Jacobson, and who else did I? Don Fraun. So he's got different strategies that he uses, but if it's a YouTuber, then it's Don Fraun. I don't go out and look on social media and try to find other influencers, or not that I'm an influencer, but I don't really go out there and try to find influencers or scour the web or YouTube or TikTok or anything to find people to bring on the program. And down the road, that might be something fun to do. Is see if I can just get an intern to work for me for free to find those people and bring them on. I like to have that. That'd be kind of fun. Grow the show. Lastly, there were a couple different things. One, let's see, where are we at time-wise? Man, I'm not going to do an hour show today. I'm not going to do it. Here is a question that came from Marquez. He says, Netflix buying Warner Brothers for $74 billion. I really think that is a pretty impressive deal. Let's go NFLX. Basically, Warner Brothers is like the main staple left in Hollywood. Oh, look at this trading view. This is cool. TradingView now does, there was a stock split that occurred on Monday, adjust the drawings. That is really cool. It's asking me to adjust all my artwork as well. Kind of like that. So if you look at Netflix, you had their split last week, which I'm not surprised. I don't know why it didn't automatically adjust. It usually does. You're getting to a point on Netflix where it may become a pretty decent buy point. Now, they bought Warner Brothers, or buying Warner Brothers once they do this split, which will probably happen next year, for $74 billion, which pretty much means they're buying a huge catalog of movies, especially old classic stuff, HBO, all that type of stuff. That's a pretty massive acquisition. And it begs the question, does Netflix get too big here? Does it get too powerful? Does it now run Hollywood? And I know I'll get some kickback from you guys here, but I'm a firm believer that 5 years down the road, I hate to say this, I don't think Hollywood exists like it did before. I think movies will be built in, like my home studio here. All I need is enough processing power, some computers, some AI, large language models, and I can clone Brad Pitt when he was younger. And I can make Brad Pitt come out with a brand new Brad Pitt. I can use his avatar, and I can put him in movies and have him do anything I want in any scene without hiring a stunt team, without a special effects team. It's literally just keep rerunning that AI until I get the results that I want, and I can now make movies. So to me, I think Hollywood's done. I think if you're an actor in Hollywood, you've got to be looking at it like, I need to make as much money now as I can because my future is going to be really uncertain. Now, I know there's many of us who go to these movies to actually see how people act, and I think that that's an art form. It is definitely a skill set to be a good actor. But down the road, man, probably not going to see that. I mean, one of the single greatest scenes in my mind, there's two of them, but one of my favorites is The Wizard of Oz, where Judy Garland sings Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And if you watch that movie, watch it again, because that whole scene is like one gigantic take with Toto, and she's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She taps the tractor's seat, and Toto jumps up there and just sits, and it's all one take. Like, that's straight acting. Nowadays, cut, and just splice everything together and make it look good. Just jump cut to a different scene, different angle. You can make anything happen. Old stuff, man. Old stuff is really where it's at. Now, the second one is Pulp Fiction. It's where Samuel Jackson and John Travolta are walking up the stairs to go confront the kids. That whole thing is one random conversation of just greatness. Movies are always imagination, Ninja. They are. And the imagination, I think, is going to be in the minds of the people that are inputting the prompts in the future. Say what again? This is a tasty burger, right? That movie is so good. The Tin Man 2 with the lion. Yeah, honestly, that movie is so good. Wizard of Oz was groundbreaking, revolutionary, and I believe it's an MGM thing. Anyway, I think Hollywood is done. So I was surprised to see these numbers. I mean, $74 billion is a monstrous amount for that inventory. And of course, that will bolster in Netflix's stable of products to show you. Does it bring HBO in? And my guess is that Netflix will now pass on a much bigger cost to the consumers. Now, if you look at Warner Brothers, what is it, WBD? Yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery. I mean, man, this is just going parabolic. This looks like a crypto. Just back here in April, this thing was $7, and now it's at 26. This ain't gonna last forever. I think this will probably end up crashing pretty big time. But right now, the news is just so big that Netflix is gonna buy them. Plus, these guys are splitting into two different companies, right? We sparked a nerve here with all the viewers on my Pulp Fiction references, yeah, and Wizard of Oz. So, what do I think about it, Marcus? I think as a Netflix shareholder, it's a make or break deal. You're either going to really profit from it or it's going to end up crushing them. And I think that it'll probably do okay for Netflix for a while. But if I just put on my future hat here and think of the time horizon, I think the next decade, you're going to see Hollywood just shrivel up. I just don't see the need to have big production studios and amazing sets. And that's what made Hollywood, right? Is these studio lots with, the back lot and just crazy sets. Fantastic. And one of my favorite movies is The Three Amigos. Have you ever watched that movie? That's so great, especially at the end where they go to Hollywood and they're... Anyway. So will that be max price? Yeah, final price is 20... is that what the final price was, Andy? I didn't see the final price on it. It was 74 billion purchase. But again, that's once this splits. It's going to split into Warner Brothers, and then Discovery is going to be a separate one, right? They're going to be two separate companies here, and I don't know all the details of it. So I can't tell you that, but what I do know is Netflix is going after the studio side of things, and we'll see. I know that there's a lot of people unhappy about this. It could be antitrust, but I think that Netflix could make their money back within a couple of years, but within a few years, they won't need studios. So this might be a bad acquisition for them. Am I doing F45? Absolutely, Big Eb. I'm doing it 6 days a week. I'm going to cut back to 5. I need to go back into weights. I decided to continue what I'm doing from a... do I like the Mont Blanc workout? I gotta check, Big Eb. I can't remember what they were. I don't remember what they were. I'm trying to remember which one it was today. Today's was really an interesting one. Let me see if it was Mont Blanc today. A totally different workout today at F45. Let's see. Today is called Checkmate. Checkmate was very unique. I didn't really like the Checkmate one. It was just too long of a workout, but it was good. Yeah, I know what Mont Blanc is. I know that, but they name all their exercises at F45 where I do my workouts, and it's like they got one called SoCal, Checkmate, Tokyo Disco, Quarterbacks. I don't know. Red Diamond. Those are the name of the work. Triple Threat. I won't be doing Triple Threat because that's all cardio. It's killer cardio. That's for my wife. She cardio is good, man. You gotta get that heart rate going and burn some calories. Get it going. No, but still doing it. What else? I have any other ones? We talked about... Oh, by the way, sounds like meme coin workouts. I like that, Dan. It kind of does. Yesterday Ethan had asked, can you explain the trend as you discussed? And I received a couple emails from you guys saying that you would like to do more technical indicators, but more visuals as far as what they are, how they function, how to use them. I'll be honest, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time right now. But I've been thinking of, if you look at my YouTube channel, it's pretty boring. And I'm sitting here at 7,000 or 8,000, almost 8,000 followers. And it's kind of unfortunate because, let me really bring it up for you. When you look at my YouTube page, let's bring it up. There you go. I mean, 7,300. Come on, I can do better than 7,300 followers. But, it just shows you this stuff here for you. And unfortunately, my content is not evergreen. And I think that's why you guys keep coming back, because, every day is different. I could be happy one day, sad the next. Market's bullish one day, bearish the next. You just don't know what's going to happen. And that's why I do these shows, because it changes. What I'm thinking of doing, and it all revolves around time, is I will have a playlist that's like an introduction to trading. So here it says for you, and then you have past live streams. Well, it's all live streams. I mean, these ones are so old here, from 2021 with Tilly Allison, who doesn't really do anything for me anymore. It'd be great to have her back, but she's busy doing life things. I think I'm going to do like a, basic indicator series. And so what I'll do is I'll create evergreen content that will be on the tick, the trend, but that's going to have to be much more planned out. We do, anyways, every day. And if you're an accountant, it's Groundhog Day. It's just like every day. A lot of us, our jobs are boring. For me, trading is not boring because it's always changing. Unfortunately, I'd rather just go and trade with other people, but trading from home is a difficult thing. So I'm going to try to do that. I'll let you guys know. I have just so many other things on my plate, but I think that might actually help my subscriber base, my viewers. And maybe, who knows, you get a little viral video or something, or if you find a video that I like that's on here, that's like, I do one on Bollinger Bands, and you really liked it, then share it. Go out to YouTube or something, or TikTok or Instagram, whatever, and share that YouTube video and see if it can pop my needle a little bit here, and maybe I get to 10,000 subscribers. I mean, I've been doing this thing since 2020. So here we are at almost the end of 2025, 5 years, and I've only got 7,300 subscribers. That just doesn't seem right for how much effort and time and goes into producing these things. But whatever, I still love it and I'll continue to do it. But I'd much rather have 100,000 subscribers and maybe even make $1 or $2 off this show. That would be great, but not in the cards for now. I can reach over and over and over and send videos to other. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, Dan. Is I want to make it where if people want to learn, I'm not going to talk trading strategies, because that would I don't want to cannibalize anything the Trading Academy would be doing. But explaining Bollinger, MACD, stochastics, RSI, VWAP, all those different indicators you guys have asked me about. I could certainly do that without getting in trouble in any way. I know, Big Eb, I'm just not a good self-promoter. I'm not. I've really never been a good self-promoter. What I need is someone who's a good promoter to just say, all right, I'll take over and we'll get you more. But yeah, I don't know. Rob, it says advertising helps a lot. Do it. Advertising involves me taking a bunch of money and spending it to get people to watch my show that is for free. Right? That's the tough part. I don't do ads or anything like that, so spending money to get no return is not really that great for me. The live shows are timely, but probably don't. They don't, and they definitely don't. Yep, not strategy. So I think I got that one done. Oh, the other piece I wanted to discuss, and it's just because it's kind of timely topic. It's already 2:54. Keep your eye on SpaceX. SpaceX is doing so many launches right now. SpaceX just did an agreement to sell more shares to raise capital. And right now, OpenAI has a valuation of $500 billion. And based off the sale of stock today, that gives SpaceX a valuation, would be the highest privately held valuation ever, which is $560 billion. That's what SpaceX's valuation is right now. And if Starlink falls under the umbrella of SpaceX, and they start doing more space exploration, you could see $1 trillion IPO. Now, when is that going to happen? SpaceX will probably happen in 2026, from what I'm reading and hearing from the executive team there, but most likely the second half of next year, we will get the release of their IPO. Are you going to get a hold of it early? Probably not, even if you're using Robinhood, right? Robinhood doesn't have shares of SpaceX. They have some derivatives market that they're using to try to anticipate what the valuation might be and give you that, but you're not really going to get it. So I think SpaceX is going to be one of the biggest companies on the planet. I've been saying that for a long time. All right, let's see. What do we got for earnings for Monday? Really nothing big on the earnings calendar for Monday. As far as the economic calendar, though, there is a couple things next week, but most of it is going to be the tail end of next week. Monday, as you guys can see for the U.S., there's literally nothing on the calendar for Monday for the U.S. except a rate announcement for Australia, and they're expected to stay right where they were at 3.6%. Of interest for those of you who are Forex traders is check out the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar the past 2 weeks has just been phenomenal, really rallying to the upside. And typically when you see a currency rally like this, I'm going from bottom to top here, the Australian dollar has gained 3.5% against the US dollar. Again, currencies don't move like cryptos, right? These things are really slow movers. So to see that big of a move in a short window of time is phenomenal. This almost leads me to believe that they're looking at potential rate increases, because when you raise your rate in your interest rate, the carry trade makes people buy your currency, and this looks like there's a lot of money flowing into Australia. So right now, the expectation is that they're not going to raise rates. They're going to keep everything right where it's at, but the price chart seems like people are expecting there to be a rate increase in the future, which would be surprising given the rate, the way that things are going right now. On the earnings front for next week, let's bring this back up to December 8th. We have a couple smaller names out there. Nothing magnificent, but you have Toll Brothers, you have Bridgestone. What else I see on there? Barnes and Nobles. They're still around. People still read books. I guess so. But yeah, Toll Brothers will be the big one for next week, and that's pretty much it. So that will do it for me. We are, a 57-minute show? Here I am thinking to myself, I'm going to do a 30-minute show. No, we're at 57. No, not incoming, Dan. We're not doing an hour show. Done. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much. Ethan and Marcus, thank you for the questions there. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Do something fun. We'll see you on Monday. Cheers. If you have anything you want me to discuss next week, email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put it below any of the YouTube videos. Cheers, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.